Good morning, everybody. Thanks for making it this morning. I was wondering what sort of audience it would be, and I guess if you went to the dinner last night, where actually the wine was very free-flowing, as I'm currently regretting this morning, then double thanks for coming along today. It is true, I am mostly known for participating in a Channel 4 documentary called Educating Cardiff. And I'm very proud of Willows High School and the young people in it that participated in that programme. I'm not going to show any clips of that today because we've got 10 minutes each just to talk to you really about our journey into leadership and I guess the people that we are that brought us to this particular point. I'm not just known for educating Cardiff. Last year, I was privileged enough to actually win the Headteacher of the Year award in the secondary school. And I was so shocked by that, really. It wasn't anything to do with being in educating Cardiff. It was simply because the school where I worked had turned a massive corner. And I heard Sue Williamson say yesterday that she's done some work for Pearson's looking at people that are going to win the teaching awards. And the biggest thing they listen to are the kids. And I guess that meant everything to me that whilst I was at Willows, the children of that school wanted to nominate me for such a special award. And I'm very proud of that. So I'm known for two things. But I'm also known for a third thing as well, and it's that it wasn't something I expected from getting involved in educating Cardiff. And I guess that was a naivety on my part of the media interest that would be around somebody that was participating in something that was so much in the public eye. But actually those headlines are true. I left school with no qualifications. I got my first qualification actually when I was 26 years old. I was a mum of 3 children by the time I was 22. I've got 7 grandchildren now. And actually I came from a very tough background. I wasn't just what we'd now call pupil premium. I came from a deprived background. My mum and dad were both alcoholics. I had no aspirations for a future. I thought a degree was something to do with the temperature, or indeed someone that sung in a trio of 3 black women. I had no idea at all the sort of things that were available outside of the life that I'd had. I did always used to go to school, but I used to go to school regularly because I used to like the school dinners. And that hasn't changed, actually. School dinners are still a big thing for me in my life. But I did leave school with absolutely no qualifications at all. And if you know me as a professional in the workplace now, I am a bit of an handful. And I'm apologising to all those teachers when I was at school for whom I was a bit of a handful. But I felt that I'd been written off by my school right from the start, really. I'd been brought up on a big council estate, same as all my friends. We turned up to school most days, sat in lessons, never really paid attention to what the teachers were saying, and nobody really minded. And I think my future was already set out for me, and all I really wanted to do was to get married, have kids, and live my life. So I started off with a variety of jobs, ranging from cleaning at the Backy factory up the road from us. Used to be able to get 200 fags on the cheap, which was a big bonus for me in those days. But also up the local hospital. I'd learned to type somewhere along the line. I think I'd probably been in one of those classes where the French teacher didn't want you anymore, so you were put into something else. And for me, that was typing. And I learned to type really, really quickly and really accurately. So I was able to get some jobs doing typing too. But I felt as if my life was unfulfilled. And I also realised something else that I hadn't realised before when I was at school, is I wasn't very good at reading and writing. In fact, sometimes some people in this profession can still speak to me and I haven't got a clue what they've said because their vocabulary is so extensive. They're words that are not part of my vocabulary. But I realised that I couldn't read very well. And I also realised, reflecting back now, the difference that made to me at school. Because unless you've got those basic skills as a kid, you can't access anything else. And I guess that you've got a self-fulfilling prophecy then as to what you'll become. So I had 3 kids. I was 22 years old, a husband that loved me, and I'm still married to the same fella now. But at that time, I changed my life, and I changed my life through that. I started reading romantic fiction, Mills and Boon, thousands of them. You could see me regularly at the local jumble sale getting books for a penny, and sometimes I could get through 3 or 4 in a day. I learned an extended vocabulary through Mills and Boon, so actually I'm quite an emotive speaker, but I'm holding that back for today. But this particular book, this woman called Sylvia Sark, there's a picture of on the back, I'm not going to show you. You would not believe the things that she could write into her book. She was my favourite writer. And sometimes I would read what she's written and blush like mad, because actually there were things that I'd sort of never heard of. And I think that the romantic happy ever afters put a lot of pressure on my husband, Colin, and the sort of romance that we had. He is actually here today, so apologies to him. I hope you can't see him, he'd be very embarrassed. But I read these books and it actually did something to me. I travelled the world through Mills and Boon, whether I was in a teepee in the middle of the desert or an igloo in the middle of the North Pole with some romantic man that actually was going to sweep me off my feet. I travelled the world with Mills and Boon. I'd never been anywhere else. I'd lived in Southampton all my life, never travelled, never been to a foreign country, never been to Scotland, and I'd never been to Wales. And as my career took off, there's a very long story to that I can't tell you in my remaining 4.5 minutes. But my life changed and I got bitten by the bug of education. Went to university, got a great degree, wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do. And then I realised what had changed me and changed my life were teachers. Not teachers when I was a kid, where the majority of kids had problems in their lives. We thought that was fine, that's just how it was. But actually teachers that never had the time to do anything about that. And in a nutshell, I qualified to be a teacher in 2007, did my MPQH the following year. And then 2 years after that, I applied for a post as a head teacher. And I didn't want to stay in Southampton. It seemed like my future was always that. None of my family had ever left Southampton. I wanted to do something different. Also as well, my career history, I knew on paper I looked pretty rubbish really with my background and my late qualifications, and that, I guess, deserved governing bodies having some explanation of my past. And I wasn't really ready at that point to share that. I was pretending, that I was one of these posh birds that had come through the education system the same as everybody else. And I guess hadn't learned to be confident in my own skin for the professional that I'd become. But I saw a job advertised at a school called Willows High School. And the place where Willows is based is called Splot. And I know from the dinner yesterday, there's lots of Welsh people here, so sorry about this. But you will know Splot and Tremorfa, and you will know the areas they are and how tough they are there. And actually, I went to that school and I went for the interview and I fell in love with it. I couldn't believe I actually got the job. I couldn't believe I was privileged enough to be a head teacher. I still can't believe that now. But actually, I fell in love with that school. I did realise after, although there were 6 of us on the first day, they hadn't done a cut. Most of the people had just gone home thinking, we don't quite fancy this. Yeah. But actually, I loved the school. As we were walking around, there were some kids sat up on the top of the roof watching us doing some finger signs as we all walked past as candidates. But actually, that didn't frighten me. I'd been used to battling in my life to get myself somewhere. And actually knowing on a day-to-day basis what it's like to live in poverty. And I just felt totally inspired by the place. And I wanted that job probably more than anybody else, which is why I think I got it. The staff at the school mostly were male and very, very proud Welshmen and people that believed that they worked in a school, and actually people should be grateful to them for working with those sorts of kids. Willows had sort of become an informal PRU. I can remember the EWO saying to me, the best thing about this school you're going to, Joy, they'll take any kids from the city, and thinking, oh my God, that doesn't sound so good. But it had sort of become that, and there were some very challenging kids there, but actually some very challenging staff too. And it was more of a task, I think, when I first went, for this English woman that had come in to tell the Welsh what they were going to do with their school, and obviously couldn't speak a word of Welsh, to come in and make a difference. But what changed that is I was able to work with those kids and relate to those kids and get them to do what I want, and get those kids to start believing themselves, because what I always believed is if somebody like me could do it, anybody could do it, and I still live by that philosophy. Educating Cardiff showed the story of the school, but it showed some kids with such tough lives, but actually kids with incredible resilience, that if the right teachers were behind them, the right other staff in school, that would change their lives too. And it did. Willows became a massive success story. Its results just shot up every single year. Attendance went up. The kids started to say they loved the school. And actually we felt like one great big giant family. Although we felt like a giant family, and I've told you the things that I'm most famous for, my cleaning past, educating Cardiff, head teacher of the year, I became known for that, and I'm very proud of that because that's true. I also became known for that, and I think Educating Cardiff shows that. And if you go to my school, if you're a parent of a child that goes to my school, a student, that's my absolute guarantee to you that no matter what, the staff that work for me will go the extra mile to make a difference to you and to your life. I left Willows High School. I left Willows High School because I'd lived in Southampton all my life, and when I was younger and my husband and my kids were young, we used to go to the Isle of Wight for our holidays. And it was the most incredible place. I have the most fondest memories of it, but the island's got its challenges. And one of the things that I was sick of reading is the fact that its education system was failing. Secondary-wise, there was only one good school on the island, so all the really clever good kids went there, and everybody else was mopping up the rest. And I decided I wanted to do something about that. Willows felt solid. The team that I had there had grown and built capacity within the school for them to actually make the difference to the kids without me. And I could already see within the school that actually the bit that I created there, that inspiration, that drive for improvement, that stealing everybody else's best ideas, thank you very much indeed, because I never had any of my own really, and then making them work in a school like that transformed the school very quickly. I've been there now for just over a year. It's part of the Academy's Enterprise Trust. Can I just say they're fantastic people to work for. You don't feel as if they're taking away your style or your personal way of doing things. You've got the freedom to do that. But actually, if you need them and you want support, they're there when it's asked. In my mind, and I've worked for 2 local authorities, the perfect version of an academy chain to work for, where actually you can do it your way, but expect support as you go. We celebrate every success there. The results jumped up by 25% in my first year. I'm not allowed to tell you because of the quality assurance process, but we've just had our Section 5. And actually the school is on the up. I guess I just finished my just over 10 minutes by saying I am so privileged to do this job, and I hear people say all the time, you know, we don't get thanked enough, and do you know what? I don't think we need to be thanked. I think because every single kid that actually comes through our school where we know that we've made a difference to, that actually gives you something that in very few jobs you could ever actually achieve. I said to somebody, we're not surgeons that save lives, but actually we are people that can create lives and actually fulfill kids' dreams. And for some of them, kids like me, when seemingly there was no hope at all. Teachers changed my life, and I'm grateful for it, and grateful to be in a profession where actually I can give some of that back. That's it. Thank you very much indeed.